You're retro trekking with the caramel apples, the apple snack that brings you a retro vibe, both crunchy and sweet, with your host Kennedy Rizzo and Cooper Lee.
So welcome back, Orchard Archivers, and many of you, as you know, are pet parents of all kinds. And this is part 2 of our dog lovers, because we wanted to devote some time and a snack or two for maybe it's a Scooby snack, who knows? To the dog lovers among us. We know you're out there and there's things that are next to nothing. You can't compare it. And that's a person with their dog. There's such that loyalty there. But as per usual, we have a lot to share. But before we launch into our discussion this week, we just want to remind you to hit that subscribe button and visit us on YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Also, check us out on our official website, RetroTrekwithTheCaramelApples.com, to see all the latest and greatest updates going down in the Retro Orchard. Okay, so our discussion is set to be most eye-opening as well as most entertaining. So real quick, here's a couple fun facts before we launch in. As we said, we're picking up on part 2. Let me get the words out. We're picking up on part 2. And here's a couple fun facts. The 149th Westminster Kennel Dog Show took place February 8th, 10th through 11th. And just curious, did your favorite dog win? Was your breed of dog in the running? Just wanted to know. And here's another quick fun fact. Did you know there was a National Dog Day? And that is August 26th. So we'll see if you be taking your puppies out for a walk that day. At least it'll be warm.
I don't know, because we were just in New York not too long ago, and that was one of the things I just love up there, where everybody has their coffee in their hand, and it is time to go walking in Central Park. Like, that was a thing.
I know, right?
I loved it. It was a thing, and the little puppies knew it was their time.
They really did, and you would see them all in their dog get-up. Like, most of them had some kind of gear on. It was adorable. You'd see them in strollers. It's just so cute.
Yeah, those people did not play up there.
Oh, no.
All right, so now back into part 2 of our puppy love episode. We're going to be talking about another gorgeous canine. And we, as Gen X kids, were always fascinated by this particular dog. This is Lassie.
Lassie.
Yes, Lassie's beautiful. Lassie's a collie.
Yes.
And yeah, like, love for Lassie goes all the way back to this movie entitled Lassie Come Home in 1943.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. That's some history.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the great things about the nostalgic topics we talk about, because there was substance to them, not fly-by-night stuff. That it's like they're just making it up as they go now. Like, they have a good idea. Well, I wouldn't call it a good idea, but they have an idea. And they'll just kind of, I don't know. It just kind of tangents into a mess. Take this for instance. Like, a lot of the animated classics, they are so talented in making things in 3D animation now. Like, it's just awesome to look at. Like, it's like, I can't believe they're doing that on a computer, right?
Exactly. Yes.
But how many of these stories that you'll sit down and watch, these animated movies or whatever, it's like there's really no, it's hard to follow. Like it's just a bunch of cool characters, a bunch of cool animation, but there's no really storyline to follow. Like they just throw stuff in there.
Yeah, and it's a sad state of affairs. It really is, because
Yeah.
you're already like, well, it's a big want want, and then you're almost like pitying them because you're like, this is going nowhere fast.
Yeah. It's like it's jump the shark. I don't even know. It's like I mean, you'll start watching it. And then you're on to something else, scrolling online or whatever. You're not even watching. That's how I do anyway.
I know. And like here we're talking about Lassie, right?
Yes.
She started off as a short story, and look what it turned out to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's saying something. I
Hmm.
mean, because short stories, that's not a big old novel or anything, and it just grew and grew, and more people became more beloved to the breed, and just it kind of exploded. And we're talking about Lassie now, current days, so she has some staying power.
Yes. And it's funny because, like, part of our girl squad, so one of our closest, dearest friends back in the day, they actually had a pretty collie. Yeah, so our friend, the family dog, again, Coop and I did not have animals growing up, so like we had to enjoy this realm and other families, other homes, and we loved it. We just had to grab it, take it where we could get it. And one of our dear friends, they had a collie
Yep.
named Champ,
Yep.
and that dog was amazing. Beautiful, beautiful coat. I don't know, like we'd be sitting and watching 80s movies and eating pizza or whatever, and she'd be right in there with us, like doing her thing. But um, she looked a lot like Lassie. We're talking about this. That made me think of her.
Absolutely, yes. Totally remember her. Um, sorry, totally remember him. Champ was a boy.
Yeah,
Yes,
Champ
totally
was a
remember him.
male.
But he was so friendly. Like he was such a good dog.
Yeah, yeah.
Such a good
What? Go ahead.
dog. but on Lassie, she was able to grace the screen with the likes of Elizabeth Taylor,
Oh,
James Stewart, Ted Knight, Peter Lawford, Roddy McDowell. Like, I mean, Lassie, come on, those are big names, especially back then.
yeah,
Like, she was gracing the stage with these people. That is so cool.
it really is.
Yeah. And I think her story was always like she was definitely the heroine in her story. But she usually had some sort of difficult hurdle she would have to overcome. But because she was so brave and she had that loyal spirit, Lassie, she would just keep going until that obstacle had been defeated. Like she always came out on top. And it's nice. It's a nice tale and it's heartwarming. And
Yes.
we look forward to those types of things these days, so we'll take it all day long.
That's right. Okay. So our next pup that we want to discuss, and this is kind of really nostalgic, is Old Yeller.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we were of humble means, so like we were kind of late on everything trending back then. Like we eventually would jump on the bandwagon. Our parents would treat us to something. Like we didn't have a lot of cash to blow, but we actually got a VCR. And
Yep.
our local library had VHS tapes, so that was cool. You could just rent them; you didn't have to go really buy them. But our mom actually, this was like one of the first VHS tapes with our new VCR. This is one of the ones she got us to see.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And this was one of her favorites, actually, which I think is why she picked it. I mean, she knew it was a good story, and she wanted us to see it too.
Yeah,
And it was good.
it was, and of course, it had an actual storyline, an actual plot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So here you are, your young kids, you got your happy moments, and of course it had its sad moments.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, like we like that kind of stuff, but like we remember a lot of that. There are movies back then that you remember, like it kind of bamboozled you. You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh,
And you know what? I would say that mom was always, she'd find those movies and then she'd say, I want you to watch this with me. She'd rope you in, you'd sit down and watch, you're like, oh, we caught on to her game, right? Because you're like, you keep doing this to us. Because she would want to see your reaction.
yeah, she would.
She was so bad.
He
Bad.
was.
So Old Yeller was actually played by a dog named Spike, and he was a yellow mastador, which is a Labrador slash English Mastiff. So he was a very good looking dog.
Yeah, strong, nice, strong breed.
Yes, very, very good looking. And I guess it's not a true story, but he's based on a real dog by the name of Rattler, which that is adorable. That is a cute little name. But it was based on this dog, who was the dog who belonged to the author's grandfather as a child. So he must have just got a rich history from his granddad, and he just decided to write the story based on all these memories his dad had of his childhood dog, which I think is so cool because we got to enjoy it too.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But did all that make sense? Because I don't even know. Did I keep all that straight? I'm just.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
That sounded really good.
When you got your husband's mother's brother's cousin's dog, it's like, what?
Sounds good here.
Right. But yeah, Old Yeller definitely, that was one of Mom's favorites, and I think she eventually ended up buying it, if I'm not mistaken, later on for her own personal collection because we'd already moved on, older and stuff. I think she got it because she's like, I like this movie.
Yeah, and I can't remember what year that was made. Was it like in the late 50s, Old Yeller?
That sounds about right. That
Because
sounds about right.
she likes those types of movies. She was always into the old entertainment, old movies, old shows.
Absolutely, yes.
That was right up
Yes.
her alley, like the era and everything, right up her alley. And
Yeah.
yeah, huh? And she just, I don't know. And it's funny because Coop and I didn't really think about it at the time, like you were living it, we were younger and blah blah blah. So you kind of took things for granted, not in a bad way. It was just there.
Yeah.
But now, you think about some of the older, better entertainment just for nostalgia's sake. Like it makes you think of mom. It makes you think of, like she had good taste in entertainment. You think, oh, old movie, 1958 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And when we were younger, we literally did not have the appreciation
No.
nor the patience for some of them. But now that we're older, definitely, it's like it's not lost on us now. We can definitely look at it and see why there was an appeal that mom enjoyed, you know. Still can't get quite into all the black and white movies and stuff. Some of them, but, but still can appreciate it.
Yeah, it depends. Does
Yeah, yeah, it definitely depends. We're getting old.
Oh, please say it's not so.
I know.
But yeah, Old Yeller was definitely a good memory for our nostalgic entertainment, and of course, it's something else connected with our family, our mom. So that's makes it golden, makes it caramel and golden.
That's right. We'll take it all day long.
We really will.
So here's a southern hound, if there ever was one, and his friends call him Huck.
Okay.
So this is a fictional guy, of course. He was a blue puppy, so if that gives anything away. This is Huckleberry Hound.
Yes.
And again, we've already mentioned in part one, we had a Hanna-Barbera. Here's another one. They love their dogs. They were
did.
definitely, they really did. So here's another one. And he was very, I would say maybe one of their more famous ones that you would definitely recognize if you saw him. He, I believe, is called a blue tick coonhound, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And he definitely has a lady love in his life, or two. He's a dog. A dog is a dog. Okay. Anyway. One's name was Hilda. She was a hound who looked like him. I believe she was blue as well. You have Daphne, who was a poodle. Kitty Hound. She was a white hound with blonde hair.
Okay.
And Clementine Darling. She was a pink hound. And he finally did, out of all of the quandary that he was searching for, he found the one. Her name was Desert Flower. And she was a yellow hound. They married and eventually had a litter of pups. So they just made more little babies.
Oh,
but again,
no.
here's more backstory. Isn't that cool?
Yes. And again, Hanna-Barbera, they really did do their due diligence with a lot of their characters like that. So I do like hearing that.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I think he was like one of their real mainstays. He was featured in 57 shows. And they had quite a few movies that he was in. And he was a special guest in some other episodes for other characters as well. And I believe his stint was long enough that he had 6 different voice actors that voiced for him. And I don't think they overlapped. Like, I think when one stopped, then the next one started. So it wasn't like a couple were doing it at the same time. Like, so to have 6 have to do that, it's like, that's a long time running.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Well, when we talk about Hanna-Barbera, though, like they had some really cool characters. Huckleberry Hound, he was pretty cool. He is so country, though. So you're talking about the voice actors. He was incredibly country.
He was.
Yeah, I love it.
Huckleberry.
Oh my goodness, he was so bad. Like he just. Like, what you talking? And he just would go, he'd do his thing, he'd say his thing. Like, it was so entertaining.
And it's funny because, like the way they drew his character too. Like his eyes, he just looked like he was about ready to fall asleep all the time. He just looked like he was tired.
Oh, yeah, he did. He was cute, wasn't he?
He was. He was an adorable dog.
Yes. I mean, we could really start getting into some of the other Hanna-Barbera characters, but we won't do that. But they really did draw out and define their personalities, their distinctive personalities in character.
Truly, yes. Yes.
Yeah, because I don't even want to mention him because I like we go long on him, but the pink lion or whatever, I can't remember what's his name. Snaggletooth, Snagglepuss.
I think it was Snagglepuss.
He was a bucko too.
He was.
But he's a cat, so we can't talk about him.
Yeah, he'd have to find his way into another show.
That's right. Sorry, Snagglepuss.
You'll have to wait. Oh.
Okay, so now we've had a good time talking about Hanna-Barbera because I mean they just have like some of the best characters ever, but
oh yeah,
we also like anything Tex Avery,
yeah,
Scott Bradley, Jim McKimson. Well, now we're in the realm of like Tom and Jerry and stuff. We're going to be talking about Droopy because he was animated by some of those names we just said.
That's right. That's right. Now, Droopy, he had a very signature style all his own. He was a basset hound. And we obviously know where he gets his name. That face, right?
No, 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 no! No, please, no!
Yeah, he he had a way of talking, and sometimes he wouldn't talk and sometimes he would. But even his movements were cute. Like, he would just kind of float sometimes. Droopy was adorable. But he actually came onto the scene in 1943 by Tex Avery, as you mentioned, and he was very famous for the way he talked. Some iconic lines he would say are, "Are you happy, people?" And then one of my personal favorites was, "You know what? That makes me mad." But it was funny because his face was exactly the same. He didn't look angry at all. But then he would start acting out on them.
Yeah.
So, his nemesis was Spike. And Spike is just such a dog's name. It is a classic dog's name. And Spike also would sometimes talk and sometimes wouldn't. And a lot of times he was just pantomiming. But he was always doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And one line from Spike to Droopy was, I know you'll remember who said it, "Stop hitting me with that shillelagh." Oh my goodness, that it takes you back. You can see him. You can see it in a heartbeat. Now, Droopy also had a twin brother named Drippy. Do you remember him?
I do. Yes.
And a son named Dipple.
Oh, that's ugly.
I know. The 3Ds.
Dipple?
Yeah. But Droopy, he was, I can't remember. There was somebody that we knew that was their favorite cartoon, was Droopy. I cannot remember for the life of me who that was.
Was it in our girl squad?
I will venture a guess that most likely yes. But there were so many of us, I can't remember.
I know.
I can't remember which one. But yeah, he struck a chord for somebody. He is so cute.
His little bulldog cheeks.
Yeah, he is adorable.
Yeah.
So here, we started our list off with one major Great Dane that we would venture to say is probably the most famous Great Dane, and that was Scooby-Doo. That was back in part 1, so feel free to go back and check that out. But our second one here is Marmaduke.
Oh, that's a cute name.
Yeah, I like that name too. And, he was even big for the size of the breed anyway, but he was big. He was on the bigger end for that breed. He first showed up in comic strips in 1954, but eventually they did make movies. There was one in 2010 and one in 2022, both named Marmaduke. I didn't watch them, so I don't know if they were actually a remake of one or the other, like if 22's was a remake of 10, or if it was a part 2. I don't know, because it just was like Marmaduke. Okay, whatever. But I think Owen Wilson was in that movie.
Oh.
I'm thinking it was one of the Wilson brothers, I think. But anyhow, he became big enough that they decided to make films, and that's something Hollywood is very good about, going back and getting what worked back in the day. We'll bring it forward. We'll make it relevant now because it worked. But this poor puppy, he had to deal with the likes of King Tut. He had a nemesis cat. He was a Siamese. I know, right?
Yes.
And I guess it was his arch nemesis. So maybe the one and only creature that he didn't get along with. So that's terrible. But that's a cute name for this cat, King Tut. I love it.
That is cute. That's rotten. Okay. Oh, now this one we can actually get into. So we'll spend a little time on it, but this is awesome. You can't go wrong with Disney characters, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So when it comes to serious puppy love, we think about the 101 Dalmatians.
Yay!
Yeah.
That was another one that Mom really liked.
Yeah, she did, didn't she?
Yeah. I mean, Mom introduced us to a lot of stuff. It's funny, she is not a person who wanted pets, but she liked watching animals on TV. Like, that was fine. So, yeah, the 101 Dalmatian. It was Perdita and Pongo.
Yep.
And I guess the book, it was Mrs. and Pongo. That was the beginning story. So I don't know where the change actually came. I don't know if it's when Disney actually acquired it. But anyway, we knew Pongo and Perdita. But anyway, they had a litter of puppies. They met, got together, they had a litter of 15 puppies. But they ended up acquiring several more, needless to say, Dalmatians, because as the story goes, everybody knows the villain, Cruella de Vil. I can think of her song. You remember her song in the movie?
I do. Yeah. What is it? Cruella de Vil.
Yes.
Cruella de Vil.
Yeah, that's the one. And she had an affinity for Dalmatian fur coats. And she preferred the soft puppy fur. So it's kind of dark, honestly. She wanted to kill them and skin them so she could make these fur coats for herself. It's like, ooh.
That was pretty traumatic. I don't know.
Absolutely. But needless to say, that's why the litter goes missing, because she goes and she kidnaps them. She uses her henchmen and they go and get the little babies and they discover that they're missing and they have to go on this trek of finding the babies. And when they finally get there, they see that there's way more puppies than the ones that they were hunting for. So yes, they take all of these babies home and they take care of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, this was originally a novel, as mentioned. And of course, Disney made it into a movie. And there are several movies made. I know for a fact Glenn Close played Cruella de Vil. I think she was actually in one called Cruella. But I think there's 5. There might be 4 or 5 actual, besides the original, that we loved, that were made. And I think they're all still Disney.
Oh,
I think they own
okay.
still all of them. But yeah. But yeah, that's a cute story. Aside from the dark, seedy side of it. But, you know, the babies, they were always so adorable. You had the real chunky fat one. You had the little runt.
I know. Aww.
Yeah. Yeah, they were so cute. And they'd be like, Mama? That was them, or was that the Aristocats? Uh-oh, I'm getting my kitty cats and puppies mixed up.
I think it was both, though. I think that, again, because it was different subject matter, I think a lot of the storylines were related or similar.
Yes, yes. And I think one in particular sat too close to the TV and they pick him up moving back and they have to keep telling him, keep moving back. They didn't want him that close to the TV. But it's been a minute since we watched these, so could be a little hazy. But they were so cute.
Yes. And I do think that was one of the Disney cartoons. I mean, we liked all of them, a good bit of them. But
oh, yeah.
But there was a bit of a connection with this one. And of course, Cruella de Vil, like, she just would scare the pants off of you because she was just so evil. But
yeah, she had those sharp cheekbones, like, in that sharp chin. Like, she just was creepy.
She was in her roadster car.
Yes. She'd get those crazy eyes on people. It's like, ooh.
She would. She would. Well, we still enjoyed it anyway.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. All right. So we're on the Disney tip, and we are still continuing our conversation about dogs, and they have aplenty, right? We're just getting started. So, Goofy. Now, what's interesting about Goofy is we all know him. We can see him. He's his hat, his attire. He walked on 2 feet. He wore shoes. Like, Goofy was almost like a guy, right? So he doesn't have a breed of dog. He's not specifically mentioned as a breed of dog, but he is part of the Sensational Six for Disney.
Oh, okay.
And he is part of the alumni with Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Daisy Duck, and Pluto. Goofy was exactly that. He was goofy. He'd make mistakes and just, you're like, what's he going to do next?
Yeah. Oh, he was so simple, wasn't he?
He was, but entertaining.
Yes, he was.
I mean, he was definitely, you couldn't take him seriously, and that's what we like as kids, right? We like to laugh, so he was a lot of fun. But we're about ready to wrap up this episode, but we're not going to leave before we talk about one of the other ones in the Sensational Six, which is Pluto.
Yes. Yes.
Now, everybody knows Mickey Mouse. Pluto was his dog.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It is cool.
He was a bloodhound. He made his first appearance in 1930.
That's old school.
Yes, that is serious old school.
Yeah.
And we're coming up on 100 years of him being around here shortly, right? That's insanity.
Yeah.
But besides him being a loyal dog to Mickey, he also shares his time with his son Pluto Jr. Gotta have the little babies around. They're so cute.
That's right. And I love that. Like a lot of the cartoon characters, they always did have the pint-sized punks that were the knockoffs of the parents or the big ones.
Right?
And that's like all across the board. It doesn't matter if it was Hanna-Barbera, Disney, like the ones that did Tom and Jerry, all of them. They all did it.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. And then they go back and even make them children because they know there's the cute factor, right? When they're just little punks, it's the cute.
It is.
We love it.
It is. And like, okay, so like, it's funny because like Pluto was distinctively a dog. You could tell that. But like you just mentioned Goofy a minute ago, like it just didn't really register. Like, what was he? Like I know growing up, I didn't really connect that he was a dog.
Right.
I just didn't. I mean, it was just like you'd see him, he had ears, and the teeth.
Yeah. We had Muttley in last episode about our dogs who had an underbite. Well, Goofy had a serious overbite.
Right?
Yes, he needed some help in that area. But, it lends to his name. Like, it all works together.
That's right. Love that.
Well, Archer, let's start that over. Well, Archer, no, yeah.
Archer. It's not coming out right.
It's just not. Brain engage. Okay. Archivers, we are now in the middle of this nice conversation and sharing our stories about puppy love of these famous, some fictional and some real life dog famous heroes and heroines. So please join us again as we're wrapping up this nice, fascinating discussion of puppy love in our next episode.
Yeah.
And that's it for this week's Apple Snack. But as you know, there's always more where that came from, so stay tuned. Come back for another second of our Caramelicious podcast. Meet up with us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get your podcast fix. Bye for now, and thanks so much for listening.